Welcome to another episode of Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Lee and Gary.
Hey.
Hello.
You can find us online at justonemorefix.com or on Twitter at justonemorefix. If you like us, head over to iTunes or to Google Play and give us a rating and a comment. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Reliable Narrator and whether that should be broken or not. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix. So today we're going to talk about the reliable narrator. So to kind of lay out a couple definitions, the reliable narrator is this idea that when the players sit down to play a game, the only information that they actually get about the world comes from the game master or the storyteller, right? So whatever information that they give the players, in theory, should be true, and the storyteller shouldn't lie to the players about the setting, right?
Or maybe they should.
Right. So the problem is that it gets into this weird area where if you can't depend on, if I say you walk into a room and it's 10 by 10, like that's expected, like those very specific things are expected to be true, right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree? Okay. Yeah. So that's the fundamental thing of what the reliable narrator is, okay? So with that and kind of being the basis from where we kind of springboard off of, let me lay out a scenario for you guys and let's see what you guys think and whether it's a good idea or not, okay? So let's say we have a classic fantasy game of some kind, okay? And you guys have characters and you come to this land. This land. It will be our land. So you come to this kingdom and there's...
For you and me?
Yes. And it has some kind of a king or noble. And he says there's a terrible dragon and an orc army in the forest, in the mountains, and they're troubling my people and raping and pillaging the cows. I need you to go stop this problem for me, right? So we spend an entire campaign, and it's great, and there's drama and tension and death and swords and everything that everybody wants out of the game, right? And you go do this, and you have this epic campaign where you kill the dragon and the orc army, right? Then you come back to the kingdom to see the king and for the reward, right? And when you get there, there's lavish parties and all this other kind of stuff that happens, and everybody's happy. And at some point, you realize in doing all this stuff that there's something wrong with the king, right? And as it turns out, deep in the bowels of his castle, he has his own dungeon where he's torturing and flaying people and all this other kind of bad stuff, right? Now, let me ask you, in that scenario, I never gave you the opportunity to make rolls about perception or suspicion or notice rolls when you first met him, because obviously if he's flaying people and being terribly evil, he's a bad guy. And there's an argument to be made that you should get rolls to see if you realize that something's off. Because like when you're standing next to Hannibal Lecter, you know something's wrong, right?
Maybe. He wouldn't have had so many victims if it was that obvious. Well,
they all get caught eventually. But, like, you know, there's something off. Like, this guy's a terribly evil person. Like, you know, there's an argument to be made that you should be given rolls. But I think on the other side of it, I think it's much more interesting and a better story if we go do the first mission and we kill the dragon and the orc army and then come back and then realize, oh, my God, we just secured the kingdom for this terrible evil guy. That's a better story than I walk into a castle. Hey, I've got a job. Oh, you're evil. Do you know what I mean?
But there's a big difference between the Lord hiding something from us and the narrator hiding something from us. But just because you never gave us the opportunity doesn't mean that that you were lying to us. But it doesn't make you an unreliable narrator.
But do you feel like that's splitting hairs? Because when I describe, okay, so you walk in to meet this king for the first time, right? So you walk into his throne room, and he's standing there in front of you, and I describe him as being this... whatever, like this Edwardian kind of king guy, right? And he's all noble looking and goodly. And I describe that to you. Isn't that the same thing as...
No.
I've done this in a game.
I
ran a game where everybody met this guy and he was going to get married to one of the character's sisters, and she absolutely adored him, only to find out that I was basically running a reboot of Bluebeard's story.
Okay.
And everybody was like, oh no. And then they had to go in and basically try and save the sister but they didn't know. They were all at the wedding. They all partied with the guy. They went off and did something. They came back, and then they were like, "Uh-oh, we haven't heard from your sister in a while."
So how long did it take place from? How long? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, was it a short period of time before the betrayal, or was it a long period of time?
I think that one was short, but I would run a game that has a long period as well.
So, because I feel like it's almost two things, like depending on how long you deceive the person. You know what I mean? Or deceive the players about it, because there's also something you have to acknowledge that it's possible that maybe I started this game, I send you on the quest from the good king, he gets out, you get out there, you do your quest, you kill the dragon and the orcs, you come back, and then I'm like, well, what's quest number 2 gonna be? What if he's actually a bad guy, right? And that's a different thing, because you just sort of shift
even
gears.
If he's a bad guy, there were still a dragon and orcs marauding the countryside, getting ready to pillage his kingdom.
Right,
those still needed to go.
But I think it's interesting to think that you went out there, and like the moral problem that happens when you realize, in fact, if we don't kill the king because of whatever right away, we just secured the kingdom from the dragon and the for the bad guy, you know, and we killed the dragon and the orcs that would have came in here and, you know, maybe overthrown him or caused problems. Do you know what I'm saying?
And slaughtered all of his people.
Right. The evil you know or the evil you don't kind of a thing, you know? So I think that makes for an interesting dynamic, and it could make for some interesting tension between the characters, especially if it's in a fantasy game where you've got like a good priest or a paladin or paladin, however you want to say it, whatever, you know, that they're there, and it could make for some interesting drama between the characters. But do you don't think that's lying to the players then? Assuming that you knew out the gate you were going to, like, it's two different arguments, but like assuming out the gate you knew after they go kill the dragon and the orcs, they're going to come back and he's going to be a bad guy.
Well, I don't think that that's unreliable on the part of the narrator. That's just the character, the NPC, being duplicitous.
Okay. But you don't think in the fact that I don't describe how he's...
What if instead of telling your characters to go off and kill the dragon and the marauding orcs, your characters get sent to go take the neighboring kingdom who's been impeding on his rule, who are actually the good people trying to get your guy to get out of power?
Mm-hmm.
That's an overt lie, but it's a lie that both your character, your NPC
Right.
is telling the characters, and one that they're believing because you're making it believable.
Right.
So what if,
Okay.
like, I had characters go out and do a task for an incubus that was running the government in the small town that they lived in, and they killed people for her, only to find out that she was actually a demon, and those are people trying to stop her.
Right. Okay, so let me frame this a little bit differently then, because in one way we're talking about this, which we've been talking about so far, we're talking about where it's just a narrative decision, right? And I don't give you the information, so you just go along with the story because that's what's expected, right? Mm-hmm. What about the argument that I don't give you the opportunity to make a perception check or something along those lines? Is that a different argument? Do you feel like?
It depends on whether or not the characters want one. Like if their character thinks that he or she would be searching into this king for whatever reason, and you tell them no, they can't roll, then that sets off warning flags that, hey, something maybe really is going on that shouldn't be. And
I'd let them roll and just lie to them. I'm like, you roll, and he seems like a perfectly genuine guy.
So I make the roll.
So dice rolls are completely arbitrary.
I think it's okay to lie to your players.
So okay, so this is where it kind of comes down to. This is where it gets you get down into the weeds, okay? Because I do think that you should not lie to your players, but I also think that you should make conceits to make the story better and more dramatic, because I'm a story first person, right? Now, at the same time, I really don't know how I feel about, let's say this happens, right? And Lee, you're like, well, I want to make a sense motive check on this guy. Let's say we're playing 3rd edition or whatever, or 5th edition. Is that still a sense motive still a thing?
In 3rd, yeah.
And no, in 5th.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, either way.
Probably some version of it.
Okay, so you make your sense motive roll, whatever your perception check is, right? And you roll natural 20, or we're playing World of Darkness, and you roll 5 10s, and they all explode, and boom, exceptional success, whatever, right? Now, do I derail my dragon and orc story and say, man, well, you notice his hands, they're like, he's got blood caked in between his, around his nail beds and underneath his nails. And, he has this crazy look in the back of his eye, like he's a hollow person. Do I do that? Or do I just say, he seems off, but there is this dragon out there and he's really concerned about it. Maybe it's that.
I like the second one.
So that's exactly what you didn't say, in that dice rolls don't matter.
Right. Which was just what I was pointing out to her.
Okay, so you think that dice rolls don't matter then?
Like school grades. It's all arbitrary. It's all what the teacher wants to tell you.
But then at what point do they matter?
Well, in theory, they should matter every time you roll the dice. But sense motive is one of those things where it's as much degree of success as flat out success. And if you make a bad guy that's duplicitous like that, he's probably really good at being duplicitous.
Right, but let's say I roll that natural 20.
Right.
Because here's how the thing works. Like, it's probably not going to happen, but there's enough people playing games to where it's going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Well, I think it matters less in D&D and more in games like Burning Wheel, where maybe you have an instinct that says always check your sources before you do a job. That's not just the character, or that's not just the player being suspicious. That's what his character is.
So do dice rolls matter more in Burning Wheel than they do in 5th edition?
I don't know.
Okay. So I'm not okay. I say that dice rolls only matter when you want them to.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, okay? Do you know what I'm saying?
That's fine. They only matter when you want them to. But I can't spend an entire game lying to my characters because then they're not going to be surprised. They're not going to have fun. I'm saving those. They're my wild cards. They're my jokers. I'm not going to waste them on that perception roll. Instead of wasting it on that perception roll, I'm going to turn the rest of the party against him. So yeah, you notice the guy's a little suspicious, but he just saved Pete's grandma over there. And Dudley really likes the guy. Best friends. They're brothers. So are you going to come out and be like, oh, I noticed this guy's real evil when the rest of your party isn't going to agree with you?
Okay.
I'm going to create more party conflict. So I'm not going to waste my finagle on that.
So you can, I see what you're saying there. Now let me make another kind of just to bring it back to the dice thing, okay? Because there's one thing where you're making like where it's just a sense motive roll, right? And he's being duplicitous, right? But let's say that I make a super combat character, right? And I'm a barbarian fighter. I'm Conan, right? Now when I roll my natural 20, the expectation is that somebody's head falls off, right? And that's the expectation. I think everybody around the table would agree that when Conan rolls a 20, the head falls off. That's just how it works, right?
Sure.
Now at the same time, when I make Marcus Aurelius, when I roll a 20 on my sense motive, at the same time, he should be able to know what the heck is going on, right?
I would think so.
Or is it that the social characters' natural 20s don't matter as much?
Well, I think that narrators, as well as players, have an agency to tell people that it's not true. They call it magic. You can roll as many natural 20s on a sense motive check as you want, but if you've got a 6th level spell that says, I look like this.
Okay.
Well,
okay, but there's lots of games where let's say it's a low magic game or a sci-fi game, and now you're not the lord of a castle, now you're the governor of a planet. And there's no Jedi mind trick to get to put out there, right? It's in a world where there is no magic. It's just hard sci-fi. You know, it's a Star Trek universe or whatever, right? So now how does it still matter?
There's still going to be a system of magic. In sci-fi, you call it high technology. Doesn't in Star Trek they have the holodeck? Same thing.
Yeah, but you can run a game without there being any magic.
Yeah,
you could. Yeah.
And so in that case, you wouldn't have a magic item that says, "Oh, your nat 20 doesn't happen."
But then at the same time, does that cheapen it a little bit more then? And then it's just like, because I can tell you, I remember a time where we conspired to get this, to set a trap and an ambush for a bad guy that we've been chasing for a while, right? And our game master, this is 2nd edition, long time ago, right? We got him trapped on a ship. We had him. He was ours. We were gonna have him in manacles and take him to see justice and do what we wanted to do, right? And at the moment it came time for us to capture him, poof, he disappeared, and that was it. And that's literally what we got. And I felt really cheated in a way, because we put a lot of effort into work into that, and we set it up for it to just be wasted away. And that's the GM's Agency.
Well, okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So you were saying, does your social character not matter as much? Does his not matter as much?
Mm-hmm.
I would take that opportunity, like if I'm not going to create more inter-party conflict, I would take that opportunity to make his character more special. So maybe our big bad guy notices that he noticed, takes him aside, bribes him a little bit. Like, I know that goes completely off topic, but I don't know if you just leave it at that. Like, that character clearly wants to play a social character.
Right.
Give them another reason to be invested in this game. Give them another reason to go fight the dragon.
Right.
Talk to them more.
His grandma's house was burnt down.
Well, I mean, it's a kind of an oversimplified situation.
The dragon or the king.
Right. I'll grant it's an oversimplified situation. There's a million nuances that you could put into a game to where there would be more reasons for him to not do it, right? But I think when you distill it right down to it, though, it's a decision to either say, no, you're not going to, or yes, you can. And how much does that derail your session or your campaign or whatever? Because the difference between prepping a monstrous journey through the wilderness to fight an orc army, then up into the mountains to fight a dragon, that's a campaign arc, right? And that's a significant amount of planning that could just totally be derailed by a 5% chance of a natural 20 on the die. So then what do? Do you throw all the planning that you did as a game master away because of one chance roll of the dice?
No, I don't think so.
I waste my lie. I use my lie. I would lie there. Okay, so I think it's okay to lie by omission.
So when is it not okay to lie? Let me ask you that.
I don't think it's ever not okay, because I would totally run an entire campaign that was a lie, and I've done it before.
I totally have too, but I've been on both sides of it where I realized, oh, wouldn't it be such a great plot twist if this was just how it was the entire time? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I have done it the other way where I knew this guy's going to betray them in some way or not be what he seems to be on his face. And I think that those moments build up to bigger drama and make for better stories. But I've also never had right. I agree.
In the sense of a sense motive check, though, you don't just have to say, "Hey, this guy's murdering people in his basement." You just say that he appears to have a peculiar hunger in his eyes, and he's maybe tired. Because when he was up all night torturing people.
Right. Okay. I think that might be the best answer to it, actually. And like in the moment, I think that's what a lot of people would probably go to. But so given that situation where you're the players, do you feel cheated because of that? If that doesn't happen, and then you come back and lo and behold, he was like maybe he's the evil priest and was the dragon's master the entire time.
I don't think so, because it gives you a little bit of reason to suspect without thinking he's really truly off the deep end yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling cheated as a player. That just shows more emotional investment. That just makes your character more deeply invested into that game. Okay. So yeah. You missed it, but are you gonna let the evil guy get past you the next time? Your character's just gonna have stronger feelings later.
Okay.
But once again, that's still the character and not the storyteller.
So give me an example of where it is the storyteller lying to you, where it's not so clear then.
If you're in a 10 by 10 room, but the room is actually 10 feet by 15 feet.
Okay.
And there's an illusory wall.
Right. But that's a little...
Okay, I ran 5 characters through a haunted house. They got loads of treasure. Some real messed up stuff happened to them. And they woke up around their campfire the next day. And my brother was livid. None of the treasure was on his body. None of those gold pieces were there. Right. Everything he had done with it was a lie. That whole game didn't actually happen. It was a dream.
So how did you deal with that then?
I told them we better find
Suck
out
it up.
No. Who's altering your dreams? Why are you all having a lucid dream together?
Okay.
I just made the story deeper.
And did he accept that or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't overuse it. That was the only time those characters ever went through something that wasn't legitimately happening at the time.
Because I definitely think that betrayal is an awesome storytelling tool to use, but I also think that it's way overused in a lot of ways. And sometimes it happens too fast. In that you don't get the full effect of the drama and the impact that you're looking to have in the story. And at the same time, sometimes it happens way too slow where it's like, really, we've been working with this guy the entire time, for this whole campaign. And now we figure this out, kind of a thing. I think it's a great tool, but a very delicate one that you have to use the right way.
They become over suspicious if you overuse it.
Yeah. So then,
let's not forget motivation too. Like in the sense of your lord that's killing and torturing people in his basement. If you're starting that campaign and you're a first level character and the lord offers you 100 gold pieces to go kill orcs in the mountains, you're all about it, man.
Right. So then you don't look at it, you're like, whatever, man, I'm getting rich.
But when you get back and you've got a land and a title and a name and thousands of gold pieces to your name, well, maybe those orcs on the other side of the country, the other lords can deal with that.
Right.
So the game I'm running right now for you guys, The Cursed Chateau. It says right in the book, the author that wrote it, that he is completely against breaking the rules. That you should, if your character sheet says you can do this, this, and this, you should be able to. But he says this setting is an exception.
Right.
because you want to get into your character's minds and you want to mess with it. So maybe their character says they can do this, this, and this, but they actually can't now.
Okay.
That's a lie to your characters. That's a lie to your players. They built this and now they can't do it.
Mm-hmm. So and then are you
okay?
talking about like taking abilities away?
Yeah, you're taking away
so
abilities.
Like spellcasting or
sometimes certain spells aren't going to work. That's not really.
So I think there's a subtle thing there. Certain spells not working is different than no spells working. There's a big difference between the two, because it's sort of like saying I'm a fighter and now you lost your dagger but you still have your sword. Does it make sense? Where if I'm a wizard, well, maybe my, I don't know, magic missile spell doesn't work anymore, but maybe fireball still does. So I still have tools to use, but completely shutting off like an entire area that makes up my character, I think is hard to deal with sometimes, especially if it's going to go on more than a session.
Yeah, well, there's
I don't
also
know.
things
I mean,
you
one
see.
of the biggest events in the Forgotten Realms was the when the gods walked the world, and there were entire areas of dead magic. I mean, it's the reason why Elminster has a level in Rogue and Fighter.
But that's a story and not a role-playing game.
It's based on a role-playing game.
But it's a lot easier to go through that.
How do you know they didn't run that first? Huh?
It's a lot easier to go through that in a novel than it is in a role-playing game, where like if I build a wizard and I can't punch my way out of a wet paper bag and now I have no spells and a sharpened stick, like how much fun is that to go fight, to go kill that orc tribe? Basically, everybody's going to spend their entire time making sure that I don't die because I'm as useless as,
Well, you just have to find other ways for your character to be useful. I mean, he may not be great with a sharpened stick, but he probably is
walks
smart.
in front to be the trap magnet.
No, he walks in back so he can tell you what he knows about the orcs.
Because
which is not going to be terribly
super
helpful.
compelling as you walk down the dungeon. Hey, by the way,
he's probably smart enough to predict some things like an ambush or a trap. I don't know. Maybe just an extra set of eyes.
I'm not saying that it's not doable. I just think that it's hard, and especially if it goes on for a prolonged period of time.
And eventually your character wants a new character. I want to play something that's a hero. I want to play something that can do something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what makes you a hero? It's overcoming big challenges, like being a wizard that can't cast spells. That's a pretty big challenge.
But that's also taking away a lot
That's
of
grist for character development.
No, I know. You turned me into a wolf in one game when all I was a rogue. And without opposable thumbs, all my skills became useless. That really sucked. I had to wait to level up to do something. Thanks, buddy. I became a scion, just so you know. Mind powers.
Character development.
Well, there you go. I guess that's it. So, well, that's exactly it, though. So how long did that go on for?
It took me a lot of rooms to finally get another
Like
level.
a lot of rooms, or like
Yeah, we were going through a pre-made adventure in that game.
right? No, but like how many? Like was it several sessions?
It was
Or
probably 2 sessions before I
sessions?
leveled up. Walked around as a dog. Couldn't talk either. That was great. So I couldn't really talk to the rest of the party. Woo. I love that game. Like, don't feel insulted.
I'm not. It lets your brother shine more. Maybe that's why he loves D&D so much now.
So was that the first time that really happened?
That was my first character ever.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. So but you liked that game or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. I mean, I was really frustrated for 2 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I liked my character again. I got a new goal. It was to get my body back. That'd have been nice.
Right. But 2 sessions. So if it had gone a 3rd session, would you have been like, "This is it. I'm done"?
I started making more snacks during the game during the 2nd session. Already.
Okay. So basically, you unplugged from the game.
A little bit, but I came back. I don't think it hurt the game, especially when you have multiple players. I mean, I don't mind giving the spotlight to other people.
Right, but there's a difference between giving the spotlight and then not having any real agency in the game anymore.
I gotta bite things.
And you were very good at it.
Yeah, because I got the trip ability, because wolves have that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, but had this been like a game where we weren't first level, where trip isn't that big of a deal anymore, right? Like if you were 8th or 10th level, oh, I'm a wolf. Great. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do now?
It was better than dying.
She was a rogue. Wolves can still flank with teeth.
I did get my sneak attack.
That's fair, but it does significantly hamper. But do you see what I'm saying though? Like to come back to the wizard thing though, where you're taking away some abilities is way different than taking away all of them though. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what you're talking about. Like when you lost all your trap finding kind of things, and lock picking and all this stuff because I don't have thumbs anymore. I'm a wolf. That's a pretty dramatic change, and I just think you have to be careful to reconcile that. So do you warn the character, the player, or I guess do you warn the player that this might happen beforehand to kind of prep them for it mentally? Because I mean, like, obviously some people are better at accepting, the surprise of it than others, but
I took away a character's wings once, and they were the unhappiest, and I still haven't lived it down.
Who's that?
My brother. He built.
sounds like Brian is a sore loser. No, I'm kidding.
Well, he power games a lot, and sometimes, and the guy next to me, Lee, likes to play characters with deep stories and maybe no good abilities sometimes.
Hey,
and it's really hard to run a
game for those two, right?
When the two of them have total opposites, and if the dragon bites one of them, he's dead. But if the dragon gets hit by the other one, it's dead. So I decided to strip him of his wings, and, well, it made him very angry, but he lost him fair and square.
Because I control every aspect of the world. He lost him fair and square.
Okay, so as an ST, I'm totally 100% okay with lying to my characters. I will finagle anything. Right. I don't mind. Rules are made to be broken. But we haven't asked as players, are you okay with it? Like I said my story, am I okay with being lied to? Are you okay with being lied to?
I did not lie you into being a wolf.
I know. I got reincarnated into a wolf. I get it.
So that was through dice roll then.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, that's different. That's because you can't afford to get the actual raise dead spell, and you don't want to give the level. That's a different thing. Okay, well, that's a little bit different. But I guess, am I okay with being lied to as a player? I don't know. I mean, I suppose it would depend on how much I felt that I was deceived. If I felt like it was a small deception, like in the example where I go to the Lord and I don't get the sense motive or whatever role, and it turns out he's flaying people in the basement and wearing around skin cloaks or whatever, right? That one I might not feel like it's a big deal. Do you know what I'm saying? At the same time, though, I do think that if it was built up really big and I had suspicions and you didn't let me follow through on those suspicions or intentionally like fudge things to where I couldn't find out when it would be very reasonable that I should and I had suspicion, I think I might feel a little bit cheated. But I guess it depends on the moment, because like it just might happen to be one of those moments where I look at the rest of the table and I'm like, I told you, who was right the entire, like it could totally
validate you.
Yeah, it totally could validate me. But at the same time, depending on your mood and how frustrated and how long it goes on and how much I feel like I've been cheated out of it, I could see where it would go the other way, and I'd be like, this is just ridiculous, man. Come on. We knew the entire time. None of us had to suffer through all this crap when we knew we should have just shanked him in the neck,
No.
in the hallway.
Those orcs, they still needed to be dealt with.
Right, but why not just shank the king in the neck and then go deal with the orcs, right?
So, Lee, can I lie to your character?
About what?
Anything.
No.
So it makes you feel bad?
Your characters can lie to my character.
What if I tell you that you're in a certain room and you're not actually in that room?
Then there better be a good reason for it.
So, yes, I can lie to you?
No.
See, my answer is kind of fluid. I don't know. Like, it's yes, but no.
I'm totally okay with it. Lie to me. Lie to me. Do anything to make that story bigger and better and more heart-wrenching. Like, anything.
Right. That's where I'm at as a storyteller. But as a player, I think as a storyteller, I try to walk a fine line with it, because I do think there is a point where it's gone too far, and then maybe you shouldn't do the betrayal anymore or whatever it is, right? And you should back up off of it. But I think there's a sweet spot where it does have more impact on the story and the drama. You just have to know where that is, and you also have to be able to read your players at the table to know, because everybody has a certain point where they're going to get too frustrated and just unplug and not care. And then the betrayal happens, and then nobody cares anymore because they're so frustrated by it. Do you know what I'm saying? You've lost the momentum of the story. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it's more about finding where that sweet spot is to do it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I still don't think that's the narrator lying, though.
I think it is if I specifically make sure that I don't allow you to have roles. I think that's definitely lying to you, because I'm taking away your agency to be able to do things, right? That by the letter of the law in the rule book says that that's what those abilities do, right? And I also think it is lying if you roll the dice, succeed, and then I say no.
That's not lying, though. That's just telling them that's signaling to the player that he could be right, but you're not going to tell him how. That's not quite lying.
But isn't there some... Okay, well, I guess it's not the definition of lying, but it's definitely twisting things in a way to where you're definitely not the reliable narrator anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess where the thing is, I guess what it kind of comes down to is, where is the line for it?
I don't think that narrators can lie to their players.
But if you make
the narrator just builds the world.
But if you make that role, right? And because I don't know, okay, I don't think that I think we're oversimplifying it with getting caught in the weeds about lying, right? Because in the parameters of it, it's the reliable narrator, right? So whatever you say, I can rely on, right? And I can rely on these rules, and that we're all have the social contract that we're playing by these rules, right? Mm-hmm. And when I make that role, the rules say that that's a success, right? And even if you make your sense motive and I make my deceive check, right, and you beat me, and it's not against a static difficulty, right? I roll a 2 and you roll a 20, right? Very clearly you win. So isn't that exactly what the unreliable narrator would be then? Because it's implied, not even implied, it's stated in the rules that that's what it's supposed to be.
I don't know. I'm not convinced.
That's violating the social contract of what it is.
They're made to be broken.
It's still the NPC that's being duplicitous. It's not the storyteller.
If the NPC has nothing to do, the NPC doesn't say, I rolled a 2 on my deceive check.
Well, he's not very, he may not have rolled well, but he's probably got a butt ton of modifiers for it. So
okay, but we're operating off the premise that I failed the roll and you succeeded.
Right.
Modifiers don't matter.
I already told you how to do it. He's tired, and now as the DM, you know it's because he was torturing people all night, and he has a peculiar hunger in his eyes.
But that's not being deceptive when they continue to dig into it more. And they follow it up. But if I say he looks
give
tired,
them time to do
he
it,
looks
to do that.
tired.
Those orcs, they're marauding the country right now.
But that's assuming you can push them out the door. So now then at the same time, is that okay to take away their agency? But like, you just have to go.
Well,
drop the bomb in there. My bad.
If you're having a character that's being that stubborn, I'm sure the king has personal guards.
Is it that stubborn to ask for a second check? Or to dig into it more? He looks tired. That takes about 2 seconds to look at a guy.
There are orcs marauding the country right now. And also, if he's the king, he probably has people standing by that if somebody gives him a little bit of lip, he's just going to chop their head off.
I think... Go ahead.
I let my characters do what they want. I would totally let them stay another night to figure out if they saw anything. But then... he's the king. He made it there for a reason. I would make sure he knows that, like, my character would notice they saw that. Mm-hmm. And I would finagle it so they still didn't find out. If I want them to go fight those orcs, he's going to make sure there's a baby around for him to kiss while they're there, and that some homeless chick gets some food while they're there. Right. And then as soon as they leave, he's going to go back torturing people at night.
Okay.
And pay someone to smack their kneecaps off in the middle of the night on their way back if, the orcs don't kill them.
It's still preventing your players from seeing a part of the story. Mm-hmm. So it's still lying by omission. But
right.
Again, I hold my ground. It is okay to lie, and it is okay to lie to me. But I also know my players.
Right.
So I'm going to hide the truth from Lee more because it's harder to lie to him. He doesn't want it.
Right.
He's not going to accept it. But, I mean, if I was running a game for myself, I would just be like, shiny thing over here. Come on. Right. And then my character would be like, oh, shiny thing.
Right. So, like, that's what I say. Like, I don't really know where, like, as a game master, I do it all the time. And I don't do it in that, I know, like, I know, right? Well, you should know, like, I run loads of World of Darkness and all this kind of stuff. Like, that game is built on deception, right? So, like, everybody, like, I don't know that I've actually would say, maybe I haven't, because if you're playing a World of Darkness game, like in Vampire, it's assumed everyone is lying to you. There's some level of deception happening.
Oh, our incompetent Tremere game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a perfect example.
Is he really incompetent? I still don't know.
So let me set this up.
I still don't think that's the narrator though. That's the narrator's NPC. That's the character being duplicitous, not the narrator.
Okay. So hang on. Let's back this up so we can kind of lay this out. So we had an all Tremere game where Lee, Carrie, and Lacey were playing Tremere, and they were working for a regent in the city who came across as a super anachronistic fuddy-duddy wizard that was completely incompetent and didn't care about politics at all, right? And you guys spent 3 or 4 sessions running around not knowing what this guy was all about, trying to figure things out.
Maybe even trying to steal his job.
Right. And then lo and behold, it was an act the entire time because he was new to you guys. You guys didn't have a lot of history built up with him. And it turned out that he was just some, faking things to try and see whether you guys were worthy or not to join with him to hunt down Infernalists, essentially, is what the story was, right? So did you guys, that happened across 3 or 4 sessions. I probably think there was significant deception that happened across 3 sessions, and by the 4th session, you guys, he opened up to you guys and said, hey, here's the deal. So did you guys feel cheated in any way in what I did there? Because I didn't give you guys the opportunity, I don't think, to make investigation or alertness rolls to see if there was something up. At the same time, none of you guys asked either, though.
You lied to us. All the other NPCs we encountered thought he was a fuddy-duddy too.
Right.
Everything pointed to him being a fuddy-duddy.
Right.
And then I tried to take his job. Whew, I could have got my head chopped off. I thought he was a fuddy-duddy.
Right.
I'm kind of relieved because I was getting ready to steal from the library.
What? So I built that deception up so that like the entire city thought that, because that's how he went around and did his investigation, is that no one was concerned about him because he seemed like an idiot, right?
Well, and then our enemy in the last 3 sessions ended up being on our side too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was a deception. And first I was like, what? But I got over it because it's a good story. It's a good game, and I don't mind being lied to.
Okay.
Like, tell me the story to make it exciting for me.
Okay. Lee, do you feel the same way or no?
In the story Lolita by Nobokov, the main character is a murderer. But a couple of the times when he murders someone in the story, he just kind of, there's this weird thing that happens where he just kind of glosses over it a little bit. It's kind of the same thing. And kind of...
It's not at all, though, because in one it's a novel where I just read his story. The other one is a story where I have specific agency and the world is described to me by another person. And I have choices that I make based on the information that's given to me.
Right, but Humbert is an unreliable narrator. And you understand that even fairly close to the, or at least I understood that close to the
But you're not able to affect that world, though. It's not like you make it's not like you make a different choice in the book. It's not a choose your own adventure thing. Do you know what I'm saying? It would be
like playing a video game, saving up all your money for power armor because you're told it's power armor, and then it not being power armor when you pay for it.
Yeah, you turn into the Tin Man instead of the Space Marine.
Yeah.
And have to go find the wizard.
And you'd be really, really upset because your game just lied to you.
I feel like that's a much larger deception, though, in a way. But going back to the World of Darkness, that Tremere game, did that bother you?
No, the narrator never lied to me. The character did.
I totally lied to you guys now. That's okay.
Yeah, he did.
Like I said, like I totally, like I did. I didn't ask or offer you guys to make any kind of specific perception rolls or anything to see if he seemed legit. I didn't. At the same time, you guys didn't ask.
I believe I asked at one point.
And what did I do?
Well, you glossed over it.
Did I?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been too long. Oh well, whatever.
Because there were several times where I was trying to have a conversation with him about what he really wanted.
Right.
And I still couldn't get a clear answer out of him. Like, I don't know.
I thought the pretty clear answer was he wanted you to go away and do something while he was busy performing experiments.
That's
which is still
possible.
The character, not the ST.
Okay. Well, I think we've kind of talked this one in circles to death. So I don't know. At some level, I'm okay with it. At some level, I guess I'm not, depending on how long it goes on and how frustrated I get by it. Maybe that's the real answer here. If you can tell that your players are getting super frustrated by what's happening, then maybe you need to back up and course correct and find a way to make things okay with the group, I guess. Maybe there might be something said for doing a better audit of the session after the session and being like, hey, how do you guys feel about this? Do you like where the direction of the game is going? And have some like out of game conversation, game master to player kind of a thing to see where people feel about it, to see if they're okay with it or not. Because I think that may be the best way to gauge it, because you can usually tell in the moment when a person is frustrated. They're sitting there, they're got the closed body language, their arms are crossed, they're sitting back in the chair, they're unplugged, I'm on my phone, whatever it is, and at that point you've probably gone too far. But I think that there's it's a great storytelling tool to omit the truth as opposed to just outright lying about it, you know what I'm saying? Because I think there is a significant difference between the two. But I definitely think that you can use it to add drama and I don't know if intensity is the right word, but yeah.
I say use it sparingly and with the right characters.
Right on.
But use it anyway.
True story. Story first. That's how it goes. All right, right on. So if you guys think otherwise, you're wrong. But you can feel free to let us know in the comments below. Or you can email us at James.
Lee still thinks you're right.
Or you can email us at james@justonemorefix.com and let us know what you think, or hit us up on Twitter or on Facebook. All the various places that you're able to find us, which is about everywhere it seems like, and let us know what you guys think, or if you have any specific examples of where it did go well or where it didn't go well. And if it didn't go well, did you course correct and be able to rein people back in? Because I don't know if that we've had any major issues where we weren't be able to rein people back in with this. And I know we've done it a whole lot in all the different games we play, because we play a lot of political, social games. So let us know what you think. Otherwise, I guess we will see you guys next week. Right on. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can find us at justonemorefix.com and follow us on Twitter at justonemorefix.